Hey
We're live.
everyone,
Hi.
how are you? We are live with Sean Williams. We are so happy to have him today.
Happy.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
We are talking about leverage and negotiating. And we're excited. We know during this time, many people have lost their jobs and they're maybe discouraged and looking for other jobs and interviewing. But you still can get that leverage going and that negotiation style going for your interviews and your next job opportunity. So don't be discouraged. We still can use these same principles in the book, and I know the Kindle version, they have it, but I went old school and I got the paper book.
I'm new school.
Um, so we invite you all to ask questions to GSean, even if you haven't read the book, if you just want to know more about using leverage and negotiating deals, and even if they're small deals. I believe some of these tactics can be used with my 3-year-old.
Yes, they can.
I probably need to try to do that on a 3-year-old.
You know what's interesting, Carla? Your 3-year-old is probably using those tactics against you.
You're probably right. My husband calls me a softie, so I probably fail on that end every time.
So we want to give GSean a chance to introduce himself better than we can. We know he's our Detroit homeboy. Yeah. Free. But aside that you're an author and all of that jazz, you're famous and we're so excited to have you on tonight. But can you give our audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Outside of me being your bag carrier, is that so? That or the other stuff? Oh, okay. My bad. No, but yeah. So writing this book is actually a compilation, excuse me, of my career. So it's been really interesting inside of that corporate America space for over half of it, and then the other half has been consulting and small business entrepreneurship, but mostly all procurement and supply chain related, with a little blend of corporate finance to help organizations, one, get what they need, and then two, get what they need and get it to where they need it to be. Three, create product and get it out the door. And so all of that is called supply chain. And interestingly, we're seeing a lot of that right now. What's going on in this pandemic? You hear supply chain on CNN and MSNBC and Fox News like every 30 minutes about what we can't get, where we are, why testing can't get out, what food is being dumped. And so career is focusing on that type of stuff for corporate America.
Yeah, you're a popular guy. I mean, the supply chain, the function is, is blowing up now, just because of everything that's going on and COVID-19. And I'm like, can you get us some Lysol, please, or some light?
There you go. There you go.
Supply chain guys, they got the hookup.
Look, using your network to get what you need.
Actually, I do have some wipes. Let me know if you need them.
So what do you think? What do you think is the underlying issue with supply chain in the U.S. right now, with just not only PPE for hospitals and things like that, and our frontline workers, as well as for bathroom tissue, wipes, Lysol, those things? What is the underlying issue? What's the problem?
The first thing that it comes down to is controlling demand. That's number one. When you look at the capabilities of a lot of these organizations that supply these products, I won't call out any names. It's about controlling demand, understanding what you need to produce and when you need to produce it. And so when a pandemic hits, nobody's really planning for the full extent of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so you go to Target and you can't see anything on the shelf. You go to Walmart and it's kind of empty. And you're like, how does this happen? Because people haven't put their resources in the space of bathroom tissue in a long time.
Right.
Why do we care about that? Why do we care about innovating a new bathroom tissue manufacturer? We don't
Right.
need any more farmers, so to say, for milk. We just need to make sure the farmers that we already have get their milk to the marketplace successfully and stay in
Right.
business. But when you have a pandemic, it's like who making milk? Who making anybody making milk?
Exactly.
I got those wipes.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was going to say demand, you're really controlling demand, and the next thing is being able to do something about it. So now that I
Yeah.
know demand, let me do something about it. So here's the problem: they are doing something about it, but they're prioritizing. And so hopefully we have the hospital systems, the medical systems that have everything that they need. You can't find N95 masks on the marketplace right
Right.
now. It's very hard. And then next, it's very hard to get KN95. But non-surgical 3-ply, you could get that. You can get that
Yeah.
pretty. You can find that. So I think the supply chain is slowly coming back to the point where we're going to be okay. Yeah, it's really going to be interesting. Talking about controlling demand, we got to see what's going to happen this fall with universities. Are we going to
Right.
go back to school? Are we going to go back to high schools, middle schools? Um, we'll see. We'll see. Interesting supply chain. It's a great time to be in supply chain. Oh, am I
Yeah.
selling supply chain? Oh no, I'm not selling supply chain. Sorry.
It's your
Well,
turn.
actually, one of our viewers is asking, can you find her some supply chain candidates?
She's a recruiter.
Ooh.
She's a recruiter.
I always wanted to be a recruiter. Yeah,
Really?
part of yeah. I've always actually. I'm gonna answer that question. For about 3 months of my life, I was almost recruited to go into HR. Did we? I didn't share that with
See
you.
you on HR.
No.
I can see
Yeah.
you on
I can
HR.
see that though.
The director of HR said, "Hey, look, you're strong in supply chain, and what you do in categories and what you do with suppliers is the same with people. No, use that leverage that you have, use that influence that you have, and affect lives for positive. As you're impacting suppliers and you're given an opportunity, let's find opportunities for people." And I thought
Right.
about it for 3 months. My boss was like, "You know how much money you're going to make in supply chain?" I was like, yeah, you're right. But let me answer that question.
Hey.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
If you stay in HR long enough, you can creep your way up to an entry level
Yeah.
supply chain manager salary.
So you guys see the salaries.
Yeah, we
So
do.
you
Yes.
know the salaries.
And I'm
Yes.
in recruiting. I negotiate all the time. So, and that's how I know. Good segue. That's how I know that people need you, like you came on our show tonight to talk about negotiating and leverage. Because from where I sit as a recruiter, people don't negotiate. They don't know how to use their leverage. They don't know how to use their
Yeah.
influence. And you talk about it in your book, some common themes that you can apply to every bits of your life in terms of using the dynamics of leverage. So, I know a lot of people that follow the Career Salon, they are following us for career tips and how to make moves and shakes in their career. So when it comes to when you talk to people about negotiating a salary, right?
Mhm.
And let's say they got an offer from a reputable company and they're looking to, counter. Start from there. How would you approach that, or how would you tell someone to approach that negotiation?
Yeah. So what happens in a negotiation a lot of times is based off of the lead up to the negotiation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's very important. You may not even know what you're negotiating for, but how you condition an environment is really key. So with that being said, the young lady asked the question, I believe it was a young lady asked the question
Yeah.
about, can I find supply chain talent? She's already started her negotiation. Right. So the
Oh,
condition
good.
happens. I don't even know who that is, but at some point, maybe we'll meet and we'll have a conversation. And she'll say, "Yeah, by the way, I threw that out at you on Facebook Live 2 months ago or 3 months ago." And
Wow. Yeah.
immediately, I'm going to have a connection with that person. So it's
Mhm.
about using your leverage and influence when you're not even seen.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go
Yeah.
back to what you asked me. And so, by the way, yes, I can't find you some talent. We train 1,000 or so people a year. and we have plenty of people that's always looking for jobs.
Good, go ahead.
So when the first thing that we need to do, getting ready for these opportunities for us to increase our salary or go after a new opportunity, a new job, is we need to condition the situation. A lot of us turn off the funnel of what I'm interested in. All right, we may be talking to someone, and they kind of throw out the loose concept of coming working for their company, and you're like,
Right.
"No, I'm good where I am. I love it here." Right. So always keep an open mind to the possibilities as you're conditioning. You don't have to say, yes, I'm in,
Yeah.
but simply say, that's interesting. Right, that's my favorite word. That's interesting. That means I'm putting it back here and I'm going to let it marinate for a little while. But let's say that's fine. You do a great job of that, but you're literally in the moment now. So that's before the moment. In a situation where you're in the moment, what it comes down to is, how do I understand the other person's language is really key. And so I want to know what language you speak. And what I'm trying to look for in particular is, what language are you going to use to let me know that you're willing to pay me more money? It was 2005. I won't say any names. My boss, my lifelong mentor, he hired me to come work for him again for the second time. And at the first time I worked directly with him, so I got a chance to understand him. Now this time he's the senior vice president, so he's big stuff now, right? And I'm only a little manager. This is 04, 05. And so I was negotiating with my hiring manager,
Right.
who was reporting it to my big boss. And so that was over, and I thought it went well. And so my big boss calls me and says, hey, I'm really excited. I heard your conversation with Jim went really well. What else can we do for you?
You're asking me?
and so I learned that was his language in saying, look, GSean, you left money on the table. All right, so we really got to understand the language of the other person that we're negotiating against. So, inside of the book, we talk about negotiation styles. That's a good start. That's a good start to understanding the language. And then I'll just wrap the question up by saying the third level is the post negotiation. If we do a great job of that, we should always take notes on what went well in our negotiations and what didn't go so well, so we can make those corrections and those path adjustments in the future. So this is a great time to be in the marketplace. There's a lot of ambiguity, but where there's ambiguity, there's a lot of opportunity.
I have one follow-up question to that. So a lot of friends and colleagues, they ask me, so if a recruiter or hiring manager ask me what I'm looking for in terms of compensation, should I give a range? Should I say what I'm looking for? Or how should I approach that if I don't want to say what I'm looking for? I don't want to lowball myself, or I don't want to put myself out of the running if I'm too high. I have an opinion on that, but I want to know yours since you're the expert.
Luckily in supply chain, we get paid a lot of money. But no, I would say one of the things that I really don't want to talk about what I am worth. Excuse me. I really don't want to talk about what you should pay me, because this is what I think. What's important is for me to level set your expectation of what I'm worth.
That is so good.
That's the key. And so if you're inside a space and you know the range, all right. So first we got to understand the ranges. So we got to call up Camille, we got to call up Carla and say, hey, look, I'm interviewing for this one job at this one company. What's the range of this job? And so they'll tell you, oh, the range is 75 to 105. You're like, wow, that's a huge range. So now what you should be saying is, yeah, I'm glad you asked me that question. I really don't have a salary expectation, to be honest with you. I'm focused on other things. I'm focused on culture, whatever you're focused on. But when it comes to salary, I think I'm at the top of that range, because in the caliber that you're going to get, my caliber that you're going to get is very low maintenance. And now you can start to talk about why your boss or your potential hiring manager can do less work. So this is how it works. Let me get my hands right. The less work that your potential boss could do because you can come in and handle stuff, the more
Yes.
you are worth.
Yes.
That's it. That's
Yes.
That
Guys,
a mic drop right there. That was a mic drop.
guys, if you need to share this with your Facebook page, on your personal Facebook page, start a watch party, because you know what? After this live and people are coming to us asking questions, how can I do this? Well, we had a live on it on Friday, May 15th.
We're gonna point you back to this video.
We're gonna point you back.
Everybody, this is GSean's book. It's the Dynamics of Leverage. Our book as well. 12 written influence rules for leadership, life, and lunch is available on Amazon right now. It's on Kindle. It's on soft copy as well, or soft binding that Carla has. So we recommend that you all purchase this book because it's a really good book and you actually can apply it to everything in life.
and it's $4.99 on Kindle. You spend more on a cup of coffee from Starbucks. You do more going places where you're supposed to be social distancing and going to get wings. You pay more for wings. This is so worth it. And we told GSean before that we have toddlers, we have kids. We're always trying to look for self-care time, downtime, where we can actually do more to educate ourselves so we can be more well-read. And this book literally took about 2 days to read. And that's with us with kids. So if we can do it, anybody can do it. And we want all of you all to go out there and get this book. Someone is asking, can they get a signed copy?
Is that James Ezell?
Yes.
Oh man, James Ezell. I'm sorry, Mr. Ezell. You talk about a master of negotiation. We need to get James Ezell to come and hang out with me, and we'll both hang out with you ladies one day, and we'll hear his story. CFO of a major Fortune 500 company.
We want to talk about some themes that you have kind of going through your book. Okay.
I want to start off. This is we have a podcast with GSean, and I think it's the 5th episode on our podcast, the Career Salon with the HR Twins. So you guys need to check that out because you might get more insight with that. In this book, one of my favorite lines, and you're gonna have to explain what the situation was, GSean. This is ridiculous. This is one of my favorite pages in the book where your mom is in a KB toy store and her negotiation is started with, this is ridiculous. And this is for a person that didn't even know, that I have a negotiation style, or this is a part of negotiating. That's just innate in her, who she was. Can you kind of give us a small summary about what happened in the KB store, toy store?
Toy store.
This is ridiculous.
Well, for those who know my mother, she is one of the sharpest women that I've met, and from the age of 6, I got a chance to really learn her style. And that's the reason why I picked the career that I picked. I didn't really know that it existed before I left high school. And when I got to college and they started talking about all of this stuff, I was like, my mama do that. Yeah, I can do negotiations. Corporate contracts, yeah. Telling people about themselves, yeah, I can do that. So we're in KB Toy Store, and my mother's favorite store is Winkleman's. I don't know if y'all remember Winkleman's?
Yes.
We spent hours, and I don't know if my mother's watching this, but we spent hours and hours and hours in Winkleman's. And one day she's like, you know what? Let's go KB Toy Stores, which is like I guess what Amazon is inside of a Chick-fil-A. Um, and so I go and I pick a toy, a Super Soaker, which was one of the hot water guns back then. There's no price on it. But long story short, we're sitting there and we're waiting and we're waiting. And my mother is just like, this is ridiculous. Your process is broken. And she always knew where to hit people. And so if you get hit in a spot where you're weak, you expose yourself even more.
Mm-hmm.
And so she knew that the reaction of the sales lady, and she knew the reaction of the boss. They're scrambling, trying to figure it out. And at some point, a lot of people, depending on your negotiation style, which you can learn in the book, you don't like conflict. And my mother knew that. My mother took advantage of moments. If people didn't like conflict, she took advantage of those moments, and she influenced that situation. A lot of people say, well, are you manipulating the situation? No, it's about influence. It's about influence.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different. So they want more than that. They got to read the book.
Right. Camille, what were you gonna say?
I was going to talk about, you talk about your rules, and rule number 2, I highlighted it.
Uh-oh.
Always know the people you are dealing with and the things which motivate them to deal with you. I thought that was very impactful. I mean, from where I sit in recruiting, I mean, can you, I know people can read the book. Can you sum up what you're trying to say in that statement or that rule?
Yeah, it's really important for us to understand the other person's sheet of paper. Oftentimes we go into negotiations and we're like, oh no, or let's just take interviews because we're talking about interviews.
Right.
We're like, I hope this person likes me. I hope I'm a good fit. I really hope that because I don't have my MBA, they don't look at me negatively. I really hope because da 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 da. You can go down a list of all the different things that you hope. But while you're thinking about that, they're on the other side saying, all of these candidates suck. They're like, we have no diversity in our company. So there's a list of things that they're saying too. And we got to understand their sheet of paper. What motivates them to go through all of those resumes and pick you? A lot of us don't look at the optimistic perspective. We look at the negative perspective. They pick me, but there's like 5 other people, or there's 10 other people, and I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I'll give it a try. No, they pick me out of 500 resumes or 50 resumes, and there's something about me that they saw. So I need to make sure to emphasize that in our conversation.
Right.
Emphasize that more than the other 9 people emphasize whatever they saw in their resume. Yeah, so I think it's really important to understand what's happening in their sheet of paper. And so always know why they want to deal with you. Is because that's because you can bring them value.
Right.
How I bring you value brings me value.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think people forget the power of being themselves.
Yes.
And you talk about that in the book too, like embracing that little style of yours is one of the title, a part of your, and then also, you talk about letting your style shine. And I think that people forget that you can capitalize or leverage what makes you unique, what makes you different. And I think that's that's amazing that you thought about that in the terms of leverage and influence and from your point of view. So how has your style and being yourself gotten you along in your career as far as using leverage?
Ooh. Well, I would say the first thing is I don't know how to share this on Facebook Live. You told me how to do it, but I don't know. Like I was looking for how to do it, and I can't find it. So
try to watch party after it ends.
Yeah.
It'll
okay.
Play.
All right, that'll work. So I was being very sincere. I really don't know how to do it, but at the same time, I was demonstrating it's okay. I can be myself in this conversation.
Yes.
And if that's something that's going on in my mind right now, let me share that. Let me share with you ladies that, look, I'm sitting here looking down every 10 seconds because I was trying to figure it out, but it's not going to happen. And you share some insight with me. That's authentic. And if we can be authentic with people, we have a better opportunity to connect. And if people know our motivation, we have a better opportunity to close deals together. That's one of the things that I really focus on with emerging leaders is you try to go in and you want to sound really good. You talk to your boss. It's like 5:30, and your boss is getting ready to leave. You're like, hey, I just wanted to share with you that I called Gregor, and Gregor said that he can save us a little money, and you go over all of this crap. But it's okay to really be authentic. If that's not you, if that's not your style, don't do it. Just simply say, I was getting ready to call Gregor, but I actually literally forgot what I was going to say. But a little bit later, I called him and I had a very honest conversation with him. I said, this is where we are. I need to save money, but we really want to work with you, but there's 5 other suppliers. And you know what he told me? I don't know if we're going to make it past the year, and we really need your contract. So Gregor and I sat down and we really brokered a deal as what's best for both companies. And so I think that's how I am. Getting back to your question is, at the end of the day, I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking, for better, for worse, maybe not everything, but I want you to know how you create value for me, because there's some things that you may see that's even deeper than what I saw.
Right.
Yeah. And so being authentic and creating relationships is number one to me. And I think if that's not your style, if you're more gun, that's fine too. But you just make sure that you gun the right way. So whatever you are, be that.
I know in the book you have a link where people can go and they can take a little quiz to find out their negotiation styles. Now, me and Camille, we both did the quiz. I am a dedicated hunter. And that quiz was right on, because I thought I was a hunter before I even took the quiz. After reading your book, I'm like, okay, from all this information, I'm a hunter. And you were like, you need to take the quiz so you can find out and pinpoint. And I did. And I am a dedicated hunter. So I'm going to try to hone on that and find out everything I can about it so I can use that to my advantage. And I can also balance myself too, because I don't want to be too extreme with what that brings. So definitely do that. Camille, what was your negotiation style?
I was a flexible gatherer.
Yeah. Which gatherers are more used to structure, and that is, I believe, am I right?
So actually, can I point something out? Oh my God. You guys are playing who you are right now.
Really?
A dedicated hunter is like, look, this is what I have to say. But one of the most valuable people in their life is a flexible gatherer, because every now and then they'll say, and by the way, can you just piggyback a little bit more on that?
Yeah.
Which is what you just did. So Camille, what were you? And so that relationship, if you know who you're dealing with and you know who you are, the relationship comes so much better. So much better. I'm sorry. I'm listening.
Camille is more of a structured person. I'm not. I am at work because I deal with policies and procedures, and I'm all about that structure. But as far as personally, I'm like, the heck with structure.
Well, it's a different need for you. You do like structure, but you like it for a certain reason.
Right.
And both of you guys like structure, but you like it for different reasons.
Yeah.
Camille has some hunter in there as well.
She does.
Right? So she can toggle up to a flexible hunter. Now, when she toggles up to a flexible hunter, and you might be having an off day, and you drop down to a core hunter, woo! I want to see that.
I'm pretty sure it's happened before. It's happened.
Like, to be a recruiter, you kind of have to have that flexibility, because you're working with all these different personalities and candidates, and they all have various, various styles as well. So I feel like I adjust depending on the situation. And of course, being a recruiter, I have to gather the facts.
Yes.
in that context, so I felt like my assessment was right on as well.
Spot on.
You bring balance. In your situation, you have an extreme balance, and you're able to kind of toggle back and forth a little bit. So if for whatever reason a dedicated hunter leaves the room, you're like, okay, let's get started,
I do.
and you can row. It's completely
Definitely.
okay. And what's good about that is at the same time, dedicated hunter comes back in the room, you can kind of read where they are, and you can drop back and give them that space. A dedicated hunter may not, Carla, I'm not sure, but may not always recognize that, but they're gonna capture the moment, right? They're gonna say things in that one moment that you're like, oh, I didn't think about that, because they're gonna go much more depth in the articulation. So it's a really good blend back and forth.
I have a question. So everybody has a negotiation style, whether you know it or not. As seen by the example of your mom, she may have not known like what her specific negotiation style was, but she had one and she knew how to do it. Can you act out or express your negotiation style, whether you know that you have one or not, without confidence?
Ooh.
Is that possible where people can be that pinpointed in situations without confidence to know that they're valuable and that they have a brand and they're worth something to someone else?
Mm.
Because I think that's a lot of what people struggle with,
Yeah.
especially people may be going for a job that pays $15 an hour. And they feel like, well, it's just a $15 an hour job. I'm not going to negotiate. I only have my GED. That's what I'm worth.
Mm. Mm.
But so it's that lack of confidence that has them in a holding pattern where they can't get more or they can't climb that ladder of what they could be because they don't have the confidence to really hone in on their negotiation style, no matter what level of employment you're at or what
Yeah.
level. So do you think it's possible for people to do that, or is confidence a really key point on getting those negotiation styles out there and leveraging what you have to do more?
I would say it's very hard without confidence. Um, and I'm going to kind of take it to the next level. I'm going to just replace confidence with trust. And a lot of people don't really look at it from that perspective. I need to trust myself. I
Yeah.
need to invest in myself. I need to give myself opportunities. We don't look at it that way because it's not natural. So having that confidence is the ability to say, I do trust myself. I am going to give myself an opportunity, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my first thought. I think about enemy. Is it Enemy of the State? I think it's Enemy of the State with Will Smith. Did Will Smith?
Mm-hmm.
There was this part on that movie that was just it sticks with me today. I think it was Brill.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I don't know if you're extremely smart or incredibly naive," and that's a deep statement. I don't know if you're extremely smart or incredibly naive. And so, in other words, are you calculating? Are you anticipating what's happening? And are you bracing yourself what the possibilities are, having that confidence in yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you so optimistic about what can happen that somehow, some way works for you? I think
Hmm.
you got to have a little bit of both in a situation. So usually I would say confidence. You got to walk into the room and have it and be ready to go. But at the
Right.
same time, you got to have that little bit of naivete. I wouldn't have started small business if I was confident. I had to be somewhat naive about the hard work that it took.
Yeah.
Right. Understand. We are right there with you.
So let's get a blend. Let's get a blend of like 87.3% confidence and 12.7% naivety.
Absolutely. And when we talk about influence, you talked about it earlier. And I posted something on my LinkedIn last week about leaders should desire influence rather than power.
Ooh.
It's a much better experience as an employee if your leader is not power hungry and they're more for influence and not, because that's a
Yeah.
bad experience. I've experienced that before. I'm
Yeah.
sure a
Yeah.
lot of us have. And you talk about the 6 dynamics of influence: prize, promise, place, posture, process, and prototype. Are all of those equally important?
Mm. That's a loaded question. How much time we got? We got. Can I do this in like 45 seconds? You know, wow, that's a heck of a question. Um, are they all equally important? Yes. Can we all do them? No.
Yeah.
All right. So if I'm one person, can I do all 6 at the highest level? Probably, probably not. I would say. But my ability to really focus on 2 and master those 2
Mhm.
is extremely important. So, talk about power versus influence. Wow. You know what's really interesting? For 3 weeks, I think it was maybe 3 weeks, maybe a little bit less, I shared something in common with Damon John.
Okay.
I'm not from New York, and I'm not
Mhm.
on Shark Tank. If you guys,
Mhm.
I don't think there's a second black person
Oh
on Shark
yeah.
Tank. So it's not me. I'm not on Shark Tank. But our books were ranked at the top at the same time.
Wow.
Right?
Oh.
Interestingly, he wrote Power Shift is the name of
Mhm.
his book. And the name of my book is The Dynamics of Leverage, which I'm not sure you asked that question is a beautiful, beautiful question. Beautiful question. Beautiful question. But when you look at leverage versus power, is a big difference.
Yes.
Leverage is pulling the strings of how the game is played.
Right.
And you can do that forever. Power is similar, but with power comes risk.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like power.
Mm-mm.
For the 55% of the people in this world that like power, there's 45% that don't.
Right.
Right? There's never been an election that was 90 to 10 in most cases. Right? There's always half and half. So you got to be able to shift leverage to your advantage. Shifting power gets old. There's only so many times that you can use that big stick. So let me just mention this, and I'll move on. A lot of large companies right now in this pandemic, they've been beating up suppliers. You got to give me this. You got to give me
Right.
that. This is what
Right.
I need. 3 cent, 1 cent is what I'm looking for.
Mhm.
But those same companies can't get wipes right now.
Right.
Mhm.
They can't get Lysol right now
Right.
because those manufacturers that manufacture that product, they remember that.
Mm.
And they said, now I'm up.
Right.
So just as much as you can have power is pretty much as fast as that power can go away. But
Right.
if you have leverage, if you
Yeah.
have leverage, if you're the type of person that can articulate process, if you're the type of person that says, here's the promise, that never goes away. Obama is going to be talking about promise until he passes away. And you know what? Everybody going to be listening. So it's about leverage as opposed to power. I think is very important.
I think the only people that like power are the people that have it, for the most
Mm,
part, because from my standpoint in dealing with employees and talking to a lot of people don't like their managers. They do not like the leaders of the company. And I think it's the reason for that is because the way leaders play power.
okay.
Like if they get a promotion, all right, I'm going to tell you what to do and we're going to do this because I'm it. I've made it.
I don't think that it's. I think that people want power. People.
I do think they do. Yeah, I agree.
It's all in how you utilize your power, right?
Right.
So power in and of itself is not a negative thing. Power
Right.
plus ego,
Mm,
power plus ego,
That's true too.
that's
yeah,
peace, right?
yeah.
I just
You know,
think that the word power maybe have a negative connotation, because when you think of power, you think of somebody ruling over you or having something over you that you don't have, and they can use that to their advantage to move and play you like chess pieces. And so I think that's been the negative connotation associated with the word power. It doesn't necessarily have to be negative, but it's what's been in society. And when employees look at a leader that's acting a certain way just because they were promoted, or they look at that as they're power hungry, or they're doing too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah. Yeah. No, when I was at Intel some years back, I wrote on my whiteboard. Actually, I was just telling somebody about this yesterday. I said I had the mindset of a Fortune 500 CEO, and I didn't have any power in that particular role. But the way I carried myself,
Mhm.
I knew certain things. I knew those things well, and so when I worked in teams, I took leadership and ownership, and I was an entrepreneur before it was even a word in my space. And I think being able to do that, the difference with power and leverage, you can have power, but it turns into leverage when you broker relationships and you
Yeah.
use that power to gain relationships. And
Yeah.
those relationships then in turn, they'll use the power more than you.
Yeah.
They'll make sure that you're good. They'll make sure that you always have a voice. They'll make sure that you're always in the conversation. And so if they have to use their power to allow you to leverage that opportunity, if some of my CEO friends uses their power to get me a conversation with one of their peers, I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
But then I'm going to come in and leverage the conversation. I'm going to influence that conversation. I'm not going to come in with the same power and say, he said you need to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to build that relationship and leverage the opportunity.
Yeah. Exactly. When we you talking in the book about recognizing from your background some of the things that were in you from your family,
Mhm.
like your dad,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you didn't necessarily know that you all were on the same level as far as the way that you thought through things. And so I think looking at your background and being able to recognize what you can tweak and what you can learn from family members, or just where you grew up, your surroundings, Henry Ford High School, what that taught
Trojans.
you.
You should have been a Trojan. Is that,
The streets of Detroit. I mean, even us, people will look at us and they'll be like, "You guys grew up in Detroit, or the suburbs?"
or the suburbs?
We grew up
No,
in Detroit.
Detroit.
So I mean, and Detroit, we have this. I think we have a reputation. Detroiters have a reputation of being hustlers, right? And I don't reject that notion because
Right.
we go after it, right? And I love that about Detroiters, that we have, that grit. And you kind of talk about, hanging with your cousins and stuff like that, and your family, and growing up in Detroit, and how that had an impact on you to where you are now and things like that. So can you tell us a little bit more about like your historical background, how that led you to where you are, and how that impacted you or affected your life?
Y'all gonna get me in trouble, man. It was I grew up in, Detroit is not Miami Beach. I'll just say that, right? And there's what I learned about the people around me, that we will hustle
Mhm.
for better or for worse. We gonna get what we need. You turn my lights off, that's okay. Oh, my cable? You just gonna do that to my cable? It's okay. We might not show you that we got you back, but we got you back.
Oh
And
yeah.
we enjoying our cable. No thanks to you. Right. So we got a certain type of hustle in Detroit. And I see it,
Mhm.
there's some similarities in other cities, right? But we got a certain
Mhm.
type of hustle in Detroit that It's unparalleled to a certain extent. And so what I think about when I say you guys are gonna get me in trouble, I worked in the pharmaceutical industry, and at the leadership level, and what I realize as I'm talking and I'm understanding the industry, not a particular company, but as I'm understanding the industry, that we're selling drugs.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
We're selling drugs that make people feel better. Now let's be gutter for a second.
This is Happy HR, happy hour. Go there. Go there.
Didn't we do the same thing in Detroit? Now, not that there's anything, I'm not laughing about that. It's a very serious matter. But let me take out the social aspect of it for a second. Let me only focus on the financial aspect of it for a second.
Mhm.
We had some of the best CEOs, some of the best CFOs that learned how to do business a different way. The only difference is on the streets is wrong what happened with drugs and cocaine in Detroit and HIV all around the same time. That's horrible. That's
Right.
horrible. It is not forgivable to have been in that space making money, period.
Mhm.
But the mindset of that person, interestingly, is not that much different than the mindset of a leader in the pharmaceutical space.
Right.
What we're doing in the pharmaceutical space is for saving lives, and what is done on the legal side is maybe not so much for that. But you got to understand, how do you push the envelopes on risk to make people better? Now, the people's definition of better may be different.
Right.
So I say that, say one's regulated by law enforcement and one's regulated by the FDA. But the influence on how do you get a drug to market, how do you make people's lives better, that
Mhm.
concept is similar. That concept is similar. So
Mm-hmm.
the hustle, it goes back to the hustle. Whether, like I said this earlier, right? For good or for bad, we have a hustle, and that hustle works for us, and hopefully for good. Hopefully for most of us, it works for good.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're winding down. We're getting to our hour. And I know a lot of people, like we said at the beginning, look to us for advice on negotiating salaries. Like I said, we're in a pandemic and people are looking for jobs. And can you give them any last words or tips on how to negotiate during this time in the midst of a pandemic, and what skills they should really be working on to go at it in the job market if they've lost a job or a position and they want to do better? They just don't want to get any type of job, which I know some people have to because they have bills to pay. But when
Yeah,
they go
yeah.
for that next level job, what can they do? What can they learn? One, I'll tell you, can they can get your book. That's one. Get the book. But outside of getting the book, what are some tips that you can give them to help?
I think there's some things inside of the book that would be very helpful. We talked about the six dynamics of influence,
Mm-hmm.
understanding your negotiation style, and then
Mhm.
also looking at reactive versus proactive gameplay, which is very important.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say this be more tactical for a second. A job requisition comes open. There's a good chance that somebody has leveraged themselves to be the first person thought of for that requisition. Okay, so that's fair. So one of the things that we have to do, if you're looking for a job right now, you need to understand, when do recruiters post their jobs? That's knowing the game. That's that Detroit hustle. You know what I'm saying? When you put the hot now sign on, I'm there. I'm getting the first donuts. So when the recruiters post jobs,
On
Mhm.
Fridays.
boom, boom.
Fridays. Apply on Sunday so you can be the first round on Monday.
Recruiters are logging into their laptop if they're really busy on Sunday night, and they're saying, "Oh no, I got to have a list for the big guy on Monday, or Paulette wants me to give a report out on Tuesday morning about how many people and all of this stuff. And look, if you're 1, 2, 3, 10, 15, you got a really good shot. If you're 115, you got to have a really good resume.
Yeah. Because we, of course, you're supposed to look at resumes in date order, but sometimes that's not how the ATS works it. They put the most recent applicants on top. At least that's how my ATS does right now. And then you have some applicants or some applicant tracking systems that grade the resume. But a lot of applicant tracking systems go by date order, and they put the most recent on top. So
yeah. And you got to know like where. So that was my second point, actually, Camille. Thank you for that alley-oop. I got to look at the jobs that I'm going for and what they're asking me to do, and make sure that I reflect that in my resume.
Yeah.
Right. It's not about changing your resume, but some of us just don't use the same terminology. The words that you use are not the words that I use. Oh, y'all call it that at your company? We didn't call it that. So we got to be able to understand what people are calling it in their organization. And don't just send out vanilla. Don't change your resume every day either. But just make sure that you have the complement of skills that most organizations are looking for the role that you want. And it's okay. If you don't, then maybe that's not the role for you. But if it's just a naming convention, change the naming convention. All these people are like, oh, I did this in such and such division, and we had this acronym. Don't nobody know that. Don't nobody know your Intel acronyms from 20 years ago. Say you save some money and increase productivity.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly right. Those are great tips. Well, I just can't say it enough. Get the book.
This was a good chat. I mean, I'm even, I'm in recruiting and stuff like that, but I've learned a lot, and we see people commenting that they have been taking notes and getting the good nuggets from you, GSean. So we really appreciate you, coming on and dropping knowledge and supporting the Career Salon. I think it's awesome that the way that you support us, and we want to definitely give you support on your book. It's an excellent book, and we're not just saying it really is a good business book. And I haven't read a lot of business books lately just because I've been busy being a mom and working and stuff like that, but some really good tips, and I think that people will be able to apply to all aspects of their life. We really appreciate you taking the time out to come and talk to us again.
Of course.
You guys need to go and listen to our podcast episode as well. So if you
no, so we had too much fun on the podcast, so you might need to restrict it to certain people.
And we will definitely have you back on. We're talking about doing a roundtable with some of you and some of your other colleagues.
I saw James Ezel ping in a little earlier. Rope him in. One of the most brilliant minds, brilliant CFO, strategist, negotiator. So we'll get these people in right now.
Look, we're gonna message him. Hey, we saw you watching our video, and we want to just leverage this relationship right now. And we know GSean, so come on our show.
We said it earlier, right? Power. Let somebody get you in the door, then you leverage it from there. So let me give you a number. No, I'm just joking.
And one more time. GSean's book is The Dynamics of Leverage, 12 Unwritten Influence Rules for Leadership, Life, and Lunch. And it's available right now on Amazon and wherever books are sold. So go out and support him.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody.